Good morning, all of you. I hope all of you can see my screen as well. Today we'll have a session about the latest BIM workflows which are used in the AEC industry. Okay, so let me share you my screen at the moment. So as you can see in front of you is a basic BIM implementation workflow. Okay. So most of the BIM companies all over the world, they have their own workflow of doing any projects, right? So let's say you have a residential building projects or commercial building or infrastructure projects, maybe related to roads, bridges, tunnels, dams, anything. So any kind of project will have a workflow, and this workflow will differ from companies to companies. Okay, so whenever you go and work in a company, maybe some of you are already employed in a BIM firm, or some of you are still studying about BIM and maybe soon will employ. So you need to understand what kind of workflows the company can have. Okay, so in a basic BIM company, there are three types of workflow which almost 80 to 85% of the BIM companies they use. One is CAD to BIM kind of workflow. Okay, and in this CAD to BIM kind of workflow, mostly the companies they receive the CAD drawings from the consultants and they create a BIM model out of it, an information rich model. Second is a scan to BIM. Okay, so they receive a scanned file that is in the form of a point cloud model, which we have already discussed in the previous few webinars, if you remember. If you haven't gone through those kind of webinars, you can check out in our YouTube channel as well. So in the scan to BIM session, we have already discussed how was the workflow about scan to BIM. Okay, and the third one is BIM to CAD, or basically the implementation of BIM, where all the design consultants they start from a BIM model itself instead of creating documents or drawings in the initial phases. They initially start from the modeling stage itself. So this is all about the BIM implementation workflow. So here you can see is a very basic and very general BIM implementation workflow, which 80 to 85% of the companies in India, I can tell, are using at the moment. Okay, even you are a freelancer, even if you are in the company, you will find this kind of information very much relatable if you start your career inside it. Okay. So the first thing what we see is input get data is soft copy from all the consultants. So what it means, basically whenever we get any project, we get a data from the consultants or from the client sometimes. So what kind of data you can get? You can get a drawing, you can get specifications about the project, you can get a project charter, you can get a project management plan in which all the activities, dates and durations are mentioned. You can even get the standards which you're gonna refer. You can even get some benchmarking examples. So anything related to documents, drawings and data, so that you get from the consultants or the client, that you have to study. Okay, to study it, you have to sort it out with respect to your own company standards. You have to align the BIM standards which is relatable to that particular country. Maybe this project is from Sweden or Denmark or some maybe UAE or maybe USA. It depends. So according to the country standards, you have to align your own workflows as well. Then you're gonna do the RFIs for missing information. Most of the time, whatever the client provides, there can be a missing information because not all the information is available at the initial stage of the project, right? Sometimes the information increases as we go from the project to project, from phases to phases. Yeah. Then we complete the architectural and structural model in a Revit file. You might be using Tekla or Archicad, any other tools also you can use, but here I have chosen only the Autodesk platforms. So you're gonna complete architectural and 3D model, and then you're gonna complete the model of all the services. So whatever the services inside a project that is related to MEP, okay, so mechanical, electrical, plumbing and firefighting. So all the services along with the architectural and structural model you're gonna make. Once you do that, you're gonna do the QC of these models. QC is basically a quality control, or you can say audit. So once you do the QC, you will find some corrections inside it. For sure, maybe in your modeling you might have some mistakes, or maybe in the design there might be any errors. So you're gonna do the corrections. So how you will be doing it? You will send the RFIs for conflict identified at the modeling stage, communicated to the consultant. Matlab, whatever the conflicts you're gonna identify during the modeling stage itself inside the office where you are sitting with all your team members, and you're gonna find out the issues, and then you are going to solve the issues communicated with the design consultants. Once you solve these things, you extract the BOQ for architecture and structure in Excel. Most of the industry people, they work with Excel, and on the site also it will be more convenient for the people to share the Excel file or a PDF file for the BOQ, that is a bill of quantities. So once you extract the bill of quantities, you will export the merged model, architecture, structure and MEP for the purpose of clash detection, right? So once you already have a model which is already validated, and also the QC and audit has been done, then you export this entire model for the purpose of clash detection in Navisworks. Then you perform clash detection in Navisworks, resolve the clashes from Revit model. Okay, so the basic workflow is you send the model from Revit to Navisworks, you detect the clashes in Navisworks, and then you resolve these clashes in a Revit model itself. Simultaneously, you're gonna use both the softwares at the same time. Then the clash-free model is ready, right? So you're gonna detect the clashes between all the disciplines, architecture, structure, MEP, and the clash-free model will be ready for you. Now you extract the BOQ for services in Excel. That is basically MEPF. So after that, you export 3D model for visualization and facility management in Revisto and Lumion. So Revisto and Lumion is basically used for walkthrough visualization, coordination on site, and you can use even for renderings for images. Yeah, because your client may be needed a realistic visualization which possible only through other software tools. In Revit, you might not be able to create a realistic visualization. It's just a normal graphics. Then you export the 3D model for 2D services output. What do you mean by 2D services output? That is basically, in the starting you have received some sort of drawings over here from the consultants. By the end of the project, you are also gonna create a drawings, but these are made from the BIM process itself. So these are clash-free drawings. It won't have any errors when you go and execute on the site. These drawings will be the main medium for your construction or execution activity, whereas the drawings which have been provided by the consultants in the earlier stage, maybe it's a GFC drawing, good for construction drawings, but you might be able to find it out over here what changes are there. Okay, there are changes. Instead of making those changes on site and going for a costly reworks or delays in the project, why not involve the use of technology? So that is why the BIM is all about the process. Yeah. So once you understand how to export and the 3D model for the 2D services output, then you do the QC of 2D output with reference to 2D input. So what it means, basically जो drawings आपको यहाँ available मिलेंगी from the BIM process and the BIM workflow, you are going to reference it with respect to the drawings which you have got before. Then you send or upload 2D output for construction or fabrication. So this workflow is not just for the construction, it can also be used for the fabrication. So this is the basic simple workflow of BIM implementation, which is mostly being used in almost all the BIM companies around India and other countries as well. During this entire time, you're also gonna monitor the project using MS Project, and you can create a 4D and 5D simulation in Navisworks. So this entire workflow is all about deliverables, right? So you are going to monitor it, you are going to create a 4D 5D simulation, you are going to detect the clashes, you are going to make a clash-free model, you are going to extract the BOQ for the entire materials and the quantities inside the project, and ultimately you are getting the drawings at the end of it. So this entire workflow is called as a BIM implementation workflow, which is basically a CAD to BIM. Now if we talk about scan to BIM, or BIM to CAD, that is also somewhat very much relatable. Whereas in other cases, instead of like drawings and documents, you might be getting a point cloud model if you are going for a scan to BIM, right? You study the point cloud, you study the images, you locate the coordinates on which particular coordinates or which location the project has been. You try to find out the necessary information about the families which you will have to create, and then accordingly you download the families or you make a family, you define which LOD you're gonna create the model, and so on, and then you proceed with the actual model. So more about scan to BIM, you can follow our previous webinar where I have discussed in more detail and I have shown the a proper recap as well, recap project. Yeah, any questions so far? Anyone? If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. I will move forward. Okay, so after this I'm also going to show you BIM implementation workflow proper, which you can see over here in the workflow docs. This is a part of iWorkstation training program. Okay, so during our course, students are being used to understand these kind of workflows. So these workflows are usually made in the industry in different companies. This is a common workflow which you can have a look over here. Like this is a BIM project workflow which specifies step by step what you're gonna do. Like example over here, I'm going to show that creation of a type catalog. So that is basically means creating different types in one Excel sheet, okay, and loading into a Revit project. Imagine you have a project G+10 building, okay. In this G+10 building, you're gonna have a maybe around 700 columns, okay. So instead of making these 700 columns one by one manually in the software install itself, if you are able to make a type catalog out of it from the drawings which you have got from the design consultants, and you know the workflow of how to make a type catalog from AutoCAD file, export the table and then use it as a CSV format, and then let the Revit read this particular CSV format using a TXT file, that is a notepad file, okay. So it really solves a lot of your time doing the manual data entry work, you know. So imagine having 600 columns in a project, and you are going to create the 600 columns one by one with all the sizes, dimensions and names and everything. So instead of doing those things, why not create a type catalog? Directly export the information from AutoCAD to Excel, Excel to TXT notepad file, and from there to the Revit file itself. So this is about creation of time catalog. Like some companies they use, whereas some companies they still struggle to do things manually. So here the process is described how you have to do it, okay. Then there will be a modeling part. So when you start the modeling, you need to know how to study the architectural, the structural drawing, okay. Then you have to see the levels, the grids, the nomenclature, a lot of other things which needed to be there in a project portfolio. So these are the workflows which you can see over here in a step-by-step format with the important notes. So whenever you start any project particular, I won't be going into detail about everything, okay. Material library import. Then you're gonna move on with the modeling of components, like basically column, beams, footing, slab, doors and windows. How you gonna do those kind of things. Then you talk about more workflows. So we just discussed the implementation workflow, which is a general workflow, you know, about CAD to BIM. But here we are going in more detail about the deliverables. So whenever you extract any deliverable from any project, you need to have a proper set of workflow, which should be easy for an employee also to understand. Let's say there's an employee which recently joined your company. He doesn't know how to generate a sheet. He knows how to generate a sheet in Revit, but he doesn't know the workflow which your company uses. So he should have a proper guideline. He or she should have a proper guideline about the drawing sheet generation. Maybe there is a particular template which is stored in a particular folder in your system in the office, okay. How you're gonna use that particular template, with the proper name and the logo, everything defined over it before itself. Quantity estimation workflow. Maybe you already have a Excel sheet predefined where you have all the format made. You just need to extract the quantity and link it with the Dynamo to extract the information from a Revit to Excel directly without exporting it one by one. So these are the setups and the workflows you need to understand. A Revit file setup checklist. Whenever you start any project, there may be different templates you're gonna choose for Revit. Okay, so how you're gonna set up the file? Which template you are going to choose? Sometimes in the template, most of the families and the settings are already predefined, related to quantities, related to drawing sheets. All things are properly arranged as per the company standards. Okay. So you need to know how to do this kind of setup, how to do the modeling steps checklist. Okay, then Revit audit checklist. Like whenever you complete the model itself, you need to check how you can audit it. RFI workflow, model audit checklist, work sharing workflow. Then you will have an Navisworks clash and resolution workflow, 4D and 5D simulation workflow, BIM 360 collaboration workflow. That is very much important right now. Like you might be working in India at the moment, but maybe your design consultant or some other team members are in Singapore and in Dubai respectively, and you need to coordinate with them using a Autodesk Construction Cloud solution that was previously called as BIM 360. So you need to understand how to work around with these kind of cloud-based platforms. So you need to have a proper standard, you need to have a proper workflow of following these kind of things. Rendering and walkthrough. So everyone knows what is a rendering, like it's a realistic view or image. Walkthrough, it's a particular video of the facility or the building. But how you should create it, how many seconds, what settings you have to create it, everything about these are documented. These are like guidelines or the steps. Dynamo automation workflows. So obviously in your project you might be doing a lot of tedious and repetitive tasks. So how can you automate these kind of tasks using a Dynamo? Portfolio creation and job application, that is the end part of the workflow. So here there are some of the workflows which is like relatable about audit or modeling and nomenclatures. You might be following the different nomenclature for different softwares. You might be following the different naming for different files. Okay, let's see over here. So how do you, I'll scroll down this one. Simple model audit checklist. How you gonna check, make sure the walls have been cut, make sure external walls are made a separate type. So these are the checklists. So any company can have their own checklist, but a BIM manager or a senior BIM engineer should be able to define these kind of workflows. The person who already have some experience working in the BIM will be able to decide and define these different workflows, which will be useful for different kind of projects. Maybe this workflow will be used for a residential building projects. Similarly, looking at this kind of workflow, you're gonna prepare it for the infrastructure projects, some other types of projects related to DEDO or specific checks. So this is just an example. Yeah. I hope all of you understood and enjoyed about the latest workflows. Any questions so far? We can take up. Kalpana, Shubham, Abin, Irfan, Sanket. Is any question you have? Did you all understood? Irfan, Sanket, समझा आपको? Abin?
Yes, sir.
Abin, Dilip, Kalpana, did you all understand about the BIM implementation workflow? Yeah, Abdullah? You want to say something? There's an unmute option on your screen, or if you are using a mobile phone, you can unmute yourself and talk. Yeah. Yes, Abdullah, you have any question?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yes, Abdullah. You want to ask something?
Yes, sir. That only, sir, about the course details, sir.
Course details. Sure, Abdullah. You can message me on my WhatsApp. Like I will
Yes.
share you about the course details separately. In the
Yes, sir.
webinar, I just present you about the implementation workflow. Like
Yes, sir.
what BIM companies are using in their companies, the different workflows, what you
Yes.
need to deliver, what kind of deliverables you need to extract. Those things I have
Yes.
explained over here. Regarding the course, for sure, like no issues. Like I'll share you separately. You just message me on WhatsApp. I'll share you
Yes.
the our course brochure,
Ah.
as well as I'll share you a demo session where you can go
Yes,
through
sir.
about what are the contents in our course and all those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, sir, I'm a structural engineer, so I
Okay.
like to do the softwares of structures.
Uh-huh. Sure. You can. Basically, what we do is like whenever someone joins our course, we ask your CV. So you need to provide us your CV or resume. We will
Okay.
first have a conversation like what exactly your requirement is, and accordingly, we're gonna customize or standardize your BIM course.
Mhm.
Maybe some people are already in our course, like maybe some people are already 10-15 years experience in the BIM, and they basically want to upgrade themselves from basic BIM modeler position to a BIM managerial position.
Yes, yes.
So they have a different requirement of learning. So
Yes.
what exactly your requirement, we can talk out on a WhatsApp message.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, sir.
Sure. Any other questions you have, Irfan, Fardeen, Kalpana, Dilip, Sanket?
Sir,
Yeah, Bin.
sir, I have a question about the BEP and this workflow, which are same. That is BIM execution plan and this workflow same.
No, no, Abin. Both are very different. BEP, BIM execution plan is a very different thing, and this workflow is very different. Workflow, is like guidelines about how you gonna start any project in your company. Okay, it may be related to a residential, commercial building, anything in general. Whereas when you talk about BIM execution plan is a very specific document which is only related to one particular project. So in the BIM execution plan, you are going to define how you are going to execute this project, how many people will be there, and how many people or the resources will be there on this project, how much time they are going to dedicate, which system they are going to use, which configuration of systems and hardware they are going to use, which softwares and which versions they are going to use. Okay, and which level, in BIM execution plan we create levels, at levels, or you can say stages, at which stages you are going to deliver your project to the client. Like you have a one project and you have 5 stages in your BIM execution plan, so you're gonna deliver in 5 stages. So in the stage 1 you might be delivering the structural and the architectural model, and in the second stage you might be delivering a services model or the clash free model. So accordingly, in the different stages you have different deliverables, and for the different deliverables, according to the BIM execution plan, there is also a contract which is very much related to a BIM execution plan, and according to the contract and the deliverables, you're gonna get the payout for the work you have done in the company. So BIM execution plan and this BIM implementation workflow is totally different. Okay, Abin?
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So from project to project, it is varies, or we have a standard for each company like this.
See, you're talking about BIM execution plan or the workflow? Hello? Are you talking about BIM execution plan or the workflow? Okay, I'm assuming you are talking about the BIM execution plan. Okay, so the BIM execution plan varies with respect to different countries and different projects. So to know more about what exactly a BIM execution plan and how you can create it, I would suggest you, we also use in our training course we teach that actually, how to make a BIM execution plan. Plannerly. Okay, so this is one of the platform where you can create a BIM execution plan with all the data. I'll just log in over here. This is an educational account. You can see over here, education. Yeah, over here. So we are like a educational provider for Plannerly platform, if I tell you. So in this educational account, you will find out how to create a BIM execution plan. I'll just open and show one part of it. Let's say over here you can see the description of your project and which modules you have linked over here. I have just included docs module, and here you can find out the BIM execution plan on the top. There are other templates also which are available, like OIR, EIR, PIR, and there are so many other documents, contract documents, agreement documents, and so on. So this is an example of a BIM execution plan. I would suggest you go to their website, open Plannerly, log in yourself as a member, and then you can also take a certification course from them, which is totally free. Like Plannerly, they recently included a free certificate course to understand about their own platform, how to create a BIM execution plan, and the other documents as well, where you can see. Okay, if you open up, all of these things have a lot of information about different deliverables, like the 4D phase planning. So what is exactly a 4D phase planning? What resources are required? What softwares are required? What are the team competency required to have a 4D? VCF issue management, and so many other things. So it's really a short time for today's webinar to include these kind of things, but you can understand how to make a BIM execution plan over here. And another thing, you can go to our YouTube channel. We already have around 935 subscribers. I want more of you to share it, like and subscribe. So you will find plenty of useful resources over here. Here we have a session with Clive, who is the director of Plannerly. If you look over here, this session was almost 4 years ago. Before, long time ago, they have the same logo, but the name was LOD Planner, as you can see over here. So later they changed the name to Plannerly, and you can see over here in this session that Clive is explaining about his platform when they just started in the industry during that time, and they were expanding their market, and we even invited them for one of a webinar सिमिलर लाइक दिस, जैसे जो वेबिनार हम अभी कर रहे हैं ना, सिमिलर ऐसे तरीके के वेबिनार्स थे, विच आर सम ऑफ देम आर ओल्ड, सम ऑफ देम आर recent, some of them are few months back ago. So you can check out this playlist, iWorkstation BIM webinar series. You'll find a lot of information and very good topics which experts are talking about. Over here you can see he's explaining the BIM management and his platform as well. Later he will talk about the Plannerly. You can even connect with Clive on LOD on the LinkedIn and message him or interact with him, say him that you got a reference from iWorkstation YouTube video or these kind of things, and he will be able to help you out more related to understanding about BIM execution plan. So this BIM execution plan is basically, like for different countries it's different. It's not same. For US maybe a different BIM execution plan they might use. For Singapore they might use a different BIM execution plan. So you need to understand a holistic view of what exactly it is. Am I able to answer, Abin? Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I think that's it. That's enough for today's session. I hope all of you enjoyed about the BIM implementation and the workflows which I have shown you, which companies are using. So if you want to be a BIM professional, you need to know these kind of things, because these things are what industry is demanding. A person should not just know about the software, but also about the workflows, how the things work around on a project. What are the standards? What is BIM execution plan, as Abhina has just asked, right? So you need to know how to create a BIM execution plan and how to follow it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.